Now, Alabama Republican Senator Jeff Sessions, he's the chairman of the Subcommittee on Immigration and the National Interest. And Senator Sessions recently in Virginia for a Dave Brat for Congress rally. Senator Jeff Sessions has been on the forefront of fighting Obama's illegal amnesty, of illegal immigration, of all of the problems that we're having in the U.S. with these immigrants coming in illegally. There's been no one who has stood taller on this issue than Alabama Republican Senator Jeff Sessions, and we're honored to have him on. Senator, welcome to the John Fredericks Show.
John, good to be with you. It's a nice day here in the D.C. land.
You are the chairman of the Subcommittee on Immigration and the National Interest, and today...
I changed that name, John, to the National Interest, because immigration, fundamentally, we must understand at our base that it's to serve the national interest. Anyway, so good to make that point.
Okay, and I think that makes sense. Now, you called everybody together on your subcommittee today to try to figure out what the Department of Homeland Security is up to with their family reunification initiative. Can you share with our audience what the deal is here?
Well, they're doing some incredibly wrong things at the border. People that are coming across the border, young people are coming across the border, instead of deporting them, particularly those from Central America, they're being released in the country to anybody basically that shows up and claims to be a relative. And the result is that the word has gotten out that all you have to do is get into the country. Even if they apprehend you, you'll be released in the country, maybe on bail, I guess, maybe not. And you don't have to show up at court, and you're in. Judge Hannon, the federal judge in Texas, said that the Department of Homeland Security, instead of enforcing our border security laws, actually assisted the criminal conspiracy in achieving its illegal goals, because its goal was to get into the country. So we need to find out what's happening. There are media reports that they're going to send airplanes to Central America to take children of people who've entered the country illegally and just bring them in, even providing them assistance financially. We need to know what's happening, but we know this: the administration is failing to enforce the law at the most basic level.
So let me get this straight. The Department of Homeland Security is apparently flying in children on airplanes on the taxpayers' dime in order to come into the United States, this reunification program, and they're saying, well, we need to do that so they don't have to make the trip themselves. But this is paid for by the taxpayers. They're illegal. They have no status. How does this make any sense, Senator?
It makes no sense. We don't know that that's begun to happen yet, but media reports indicate they intend to send empty airplanes to countries to pick up non-citizens and that have been some of which previously deported. DHS websites, their own websites, indicate the program is going to provide participants admitted as refugees with cash loans and travel and medical assistance. So this is encouraging more illegality. This is what all this is doing. And we're going to have another big surge at the border this summer. And it's just wrong. The administration should be sending clear messages. Do not come unlawfully. File your papers. Wait your time. If you come unlawfully, you'll be apprehended and deported. That's the way to drive down the number of entrants that are coming illegally.
Well, Senator, we're doing the exact opposite. Even changing the wording, the DHS says they're no longer going to say that these are unaccompanied alien children, because they say that this term is not politically correct enough, and they're going to change it to Central American minors. I mean, we can't even say now what these people are.
Look, the American people, I know, are frustrated, but honestly, it's worse than they think. John, I was a federal prosecutor United States Attorney for 12 years. I've dealt with border agents and law enforcement officers. This encourages lawlessness. The whole purpose of law enforcement is to create a climate where people don't commit crimes, to reduce criminal activity. These proposals and what you're talking about, and there are a host of them, are incentivizing and encouraging illegal activity. It's open and blatant. It needs to be stopped. Only the American people seem to be concerned about it. But this last election, I think, sent a message, and we've got to keep pushing to make sure our Congress and our presidents, whoever they be in the future, are going to take the kind of action necessary to stop it.
You know, we've got Senator Jeff Sessions with us. Senator Sessions, Republican from Alabama. We have new census information out that is basically saying by 2025, 1 in every 7 Americans are going to be immigrants. 1 in 7. Just think of that. Now, the other thing is Scott Walker, governor of Wisconsin, running for president this week said, well, the real issue is U.S. jobs. Now, no one is talking about this except us. What is your position on why do we need additional foreign workers to come into the United States now?
John, you're so correct. We are soon to reach the highest percentage in the next 8 years, the highest percentage of non-native born Americans in the history of the country. This is surging in terms of real numbers. It's extraordinarily high, and it continues every year thereafter. So we do need to ask ourselves, are we creating enough jobs for all this flow, mostly of lower-skilled labor? And the answer is no. We've got the lowest percentage of people in the working ages actually working in America today since the 1970s. Wages are down substantially, adjusted for inflation. This is a horrible thing. We need to be getting our people's wages up. If you bring in more cotton price will fall. Bring in more labor, price of labor falls. We've got to acknowledge that. That's all Governor Walker said was, if I'm setting I'm setting an immigration policy, I'm going to ask some questions. One of them is going to be, will it impact adversely the wages of working Americans? And that's exactly what the national interest is. We need to quit letting special interests drive this issue, drive our policies. You got businesses who want more and more cheaper labor. You got activist groups out there that have their agenda. You got politicians and the president hoping he's going to gain votes, and it's an unholy alliance. And the person that's being left out is the working American who's not doing well financially. And they need and have a right to expect their laws on the books are enforced and their jobs protected. So I feel strongly about that. I think the American people do. Mm-hmm. And we need to convince the politicians that something bad's going to happen if they don't listen to the honest, decent request of the people of this country.
We're with Republican Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions. Senator, let's get to the fast-track trade Trans-Pacific Partnership. Just got through the Finance Committee yesterday. Part of this deal is to bring in more millions of foreign workers through HB1 and HB5 visas. That's getting under the radar screen. How do you stand on this?
It is, I've tried to, this treaty is so-called part that's been negotiated. A lot of it's not even written yet. They're asking us to have a fast-track proposal that would allow this thing to go forward with a simple majority vote without amendments. And we don't know what's in it, number one. Number two, it's got Virginian James Madison would turn over in his grave. It's a document that explicitly talks about this is going to be a living document. So the treaty signatories are able to change it at any time if we authorize it to go forward. So we don't know what's in it. We're not going to have amendments. And it does appear that the president can negotiate immigration rules, contrary to the law of the United States. if we pass this legislation. And we know he'll push it as far as he can. So I think I'm going to do what I can do to block that. And frankly, we're ceding way too much power to a president who's already taken too much power over the Congress and the American people.
Now, Senator, one of the issues that Republicans have since Mitt Romney got beat in 2012 and the RNC did their so-called analysis autopsy, we've heard this mantra that in order for Republicans to maintain their majority, to be successful at the ballot box, that they have to get on the same page with Hispanics as it relates to immigration reform, amnesty. What do you do with the 10 to 15 million illegals that are in the United States now? How do you keep the flow of immigrants coming in? And that if Republicans don't state that, they're going to lose. But we've got a survey that you and your staff shared with me the other day that is stunning. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. That is, this whole ideological theory was false and bogus. The election was not lost because we didn't appeal to Hispanics. The election of Governor Romney was lost, in my opinion, was lost, and I think data backs it up, because he insufficiently appealed to working Americans.
Right.
He got clobbered under the $50,000 voter because they weren't in the 47%, and you can't win elections with 47%. And American people want to see a lawful system of immigration. They don't want to see the president capitulate to lawlessness. So I think that's a big factor. And so what has happened? So this last election last November, it didn't go down on one of these agendas of amnesty. The Republicans campaigned around the country that they opposed the president's executive amnesty, and they won a huge victory.
Right.
Just exactly opposite what these high-paid consultants said. So on the polling data that you mentioned, I think it's 75-8 said that if a business needs more employees and has a difficult time getting them, they should raise wages and improve working conditions. Or the question was, should they bring in workers from abroad? That number for Hispanics was 71-11, 88-3 among African Americans. People want our people who are unemployed, on welfare, on food stamps, struggling to get by. They want our people, and correctly want our people, to have the jobs that come available. We're not creating enough jobs. The economy is not growing well, unfortunately, and it's difficult to find jobs for the people we have.
Well, look, I think you hit the nail on the head, and Republican consultants like Whit Ayers and others, and now Ed Gillespie back on K Street in D.C., they're running around saying, look, in order for Republicans to win, they have to do the Gang of Eight bill in the Senate. They have to do immigration reform. And we're seeing when you look at reality, you're seeing the exact opposite. Working people in the United States who have been forgotten by everyone are saying the exact opposite. The other thing which was interesting in this survey is that Hispanics that went through the system legally, 75% of them don't want anything at all to do with Obama's amnesty. Now, that is the exact opposite of what the consultant class is saying. Why?
Well, they've come here. They're here lawfully. They want their children to be able to find a job. They'd like to get a pay raise. They're worried about being laid off, too, and not being able to find the job. And if you just have millions of people coming in, lawfully and unlawfully, that are always willing to work for less, then you're not able to compete. You get people who work for $5 off the books an hour. It makes it hard for a legal immigrant to build the kind of family and prosperity he or she would like to build. Look, you defend the interest of lawful immigrants if you maintain a policy of immigration that is responsible, reasonable, and serves everybody's interest. And we just we're not doing this correctly. And it's hurting people. And they know it. It's hurting Hispanics. It's hurting African Americans. Probably African Americans have taken the biggest hit, according to Peter Kirsanow on the U.S. Civil Rights Commission, according to Professor Borjas at Harvard, maybe the leading expert on these issues. They've taken the hardest hits, and we need to be concerned about them. First,
right.
They're our citizens, our people, and we need to help them rise out of poverty.
That's exactly it. We have to put America first and the middle class ahead of everyone else. Senator Jeff Sessions, Republican from Alabama. We're out of time. Thanks for being with us, sir.
Thank you, John.